Hi, I'm Megan Price, and welcome to the NBA Carousel, a sideline sports network production proudly sponsored by Score No Score app, available for download in Apple and Google Play stores. Also sponsored by Manscaped. Check out the Inscriber magazine where you can get all your culture and technology and sports news provided by Sideline Sports. But let's jump right into our show. We have Will Vogel covering the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Oh, there we go. Hey, Will, how are you?
Hey, sorry, I couldn't hear you for a minute.
No problem whatsoever. Technical difficulties happen. Okay, so talk to me about the Charlotte Hornets. You guys had an interesting week. It's one of those weeks that I would say kind of test you guys and see what you're made of. You started off the week with the Knicks, who, as we know, are a pretty physical team, a very defense-driven team. Talk to me about that game.
I actually didn't write notes on that game. I wrote
Okay.
notes on the game after that. I'm sorry about that.
No problem at all. Okay, so following up that with that game, you guys came out on top 97-87. So it was a 10-point differential right there. You guys came out victorious. And then on Wednesday, you guys played the Celtics, which is always a kind of a crazy matchup for you guys because y'all have some former Celtics on your team. So talk to me about that game.
Yeah, it was a great game. It was on ESPN, which is huge to get a good young team like the Hornets on ESPN. And we came out victorious. LaMelo Ball had a triple-double. Rozier had a double-double. Oubre had 18 points off the bench. McDaniels had 12 points off the bench. So, yeah, it was a really good team win.
Absolutely, and looking at the stats on the other side, like you guys were able to contain Jason Tatum to 12 points. Like that's huge right there. We all know what type of scorer he can be. And so, who was guarding him most of the game? Do you think?
It was probably either Gordon or Miles. I can't remember, but it was probably Miles because Miles is the better defender.
I see. Well, he did an excellent job. Now on Friday, you guys played OKC, and was just kind of a bit of a blowout right there. Not one
Yeah.
of those 30-plus games, but by 23 points, that's quite a bit. It was 121-98. Talk to me about that game.
Yeah, it was a big win. Of course, OKC, no offense to any OKC fans, they're not the best team out there. They're young and they're getting better, but it's
Mm-hmm.
going to take time. But Bridges had double-double, Rozier had 24 points, PJ Washington had 20 points off the bench. But yeah, like I said, the Thunder aren't the greatest team. They're slowly but surely will become a pretty good team. They got good young pieces like Luke Dort, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey. They've got good young pieces.
They do. I agree. I'm a big SGA fan,
I am
and
too.
I know like when there's always questions whenever you're on a team that doesn't do very well, but you have excellent stats. So some people kind of look at it as stat padding. But even when he played for the Clippers, like I thought he was an excellent shooter. So
I agree.
definitely see that he has some talent and hope that it comes together for them. I love their rookie Giddy. Like he's exciting to
Giddey's
watch as
fun.
well.
Yeah, great player, great young player.
Absolutely. So tell me about the next game following that.
Yeah, we played the Hawks and it was a loss. Like Bridges had 19 points. Ball had 19 points. Oubre and Washington had 12 points off the bench. But I just looked at the stats. Like we did good. We shot from the field well, inside the paint. Free throws were fine. Rebounds were fine. The thing that killed us, and I'm not even joking, we shot 11% from three. Not even kidding. Like that
Oh wow.
is horrendous. Like
Yeah. My God.
we're not like the greatest 3-point shooting team, but like 11%. Like we got Gordon Hayward, we got LaMelo Ball, we got
Right.
Bridges who can knock those down. Rozier. 11% is very, very unacceptable for any NBA team, no matter
I agree.
who you are and what your record is. 11% when you have trusty shooters, like I just said, like Hayward, Rozier, Bridges, Ball, who can knock down threes. and it just
Right.
wasn't falling, and it wasn't it just, I think that's what cost us the game.
I could see that. Trey Young had 30 points, and then DeAndre Hunter had 20 points. So, it looks like they kind of went on a hot streak. And
Yes,
you know how it is when Trey's hot. Like there's not a whole lot you can do. Like you can't even really contain him. You can guarantee he's going to get what he's going to get, and you kind of have to focus on the other pieces and
exactly.
maybe containing those pieces down. So games coming up this week. You guys have the Raptors tomorrow night. Then you have the Pacers on Wednesday, Lakers on Friday, and then Clippers on Sunday, finishing out your week. Talk to me about the first couple of games because, I mean, those would probably be viewed as some of the easier games, but the Raptors have kind of heated up some.
Yeah, the Raptors are a good young team. Of course, they don't have Kyle Lowry anymore, but they got Fred VanVleet, who's a great guard. They got Pascal Siakam. They got OG Anunoby. They got Scotty Barnes, who's a great young rookie who's only going to get better. And then I'm not really scared of them. I think we'll win that game. Pacers, I think we have the Pacers number. Sabonis is, I don't remember if he's hurt or not. I don't think he is, but he's not playing great. Turner's out and is going to be reevaluated soon. The only thing that scares me, and I went to a Hornets Pacers game earlier this year, was we let Chris Duarte go off, their rookie. So you need to contain him. You need to contain Brogdon. You need to contain Sabonis. And then the Lakers, normally I would be scared, but I think we can hang with the Lakers, especially with their struggles this year. Like Westbrook's not playing as well as he should be. LeBron is having to do a lot of carrying of the team. Like that's a lot of mental stress, even though they're supposed to get Anthony Davis back, I think tomorrow or something. He's probably going to be a little rusty because it takes a few games after being out for so long. And then the Clippers, I'm not really scared of them either. I could see one loss, like a surprising loss, but I don't think we'll have any real trouble. I think we'll hang around with each of these teams. I don't think if we lose, it will be a blowout. I think it will be a close loss.
All right. Well, good luck on your games this week, Will,
Thank you.
let everybody know where they can find you and follow you.
You guys can find me here on Monday nights covering the Charlotte Hornets. On Thursday night, on the Sip-Off, hosted by Megan Price, Jahan Phillips, and Anthony Brown. Look forward to an awesome episode on Thursday. We are going to be talking about Kobe and Gigi Bryant.
Absolutely.
And then Saturday, I will be on The Gauntlet, hosted by James Tatum and a whole bunch of other people.
Thank you so much, Will. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Chris Couch Coach Powell for the Clippers.
Hey, Megan, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Pretty good.
Awesome. So talk to me about your team. What do you guys have going on? I know that last time we talked, we were kind of talking about injuries. And how did that come to pass with you guys this week on your game record?
Once again, still with no PG or Kawhi. This week was pretty solid. We started our, obviously, this time of year is always the Grammy East Coast trip. So, we're starting our 8-game road series. Obviously, we started a little slow in the beginning of the week. We did actually win. We did beat Indiana. Indiana was somewhat the hot team. Last week, especially pulling off that feat against Golden State. We got them before they got hot. So, we got them right at the right point. That was a solid game. Another guy we always talk about, Nicholas Batum, 32 points.
Right.
A guy who, shout out to, he was trash in Charlotte. He was kind of, the forgotten one in Charlotte. And now, he became a treasure in LA. That was, great game there. Then, we lost to the Nuggets in the primetime game, which was the craziest, the crazy sequence. Obviously, who hit that game with a shot? Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon hit that game
with a game-winning point, yeah.
And then Reggie hit, Yeah, and then Reggie almost had a heave, and it hit the rim, and
Right.
it hit, but it didn't go through. But Jokic, I mean, my goodness, he had 49 points in that game, so he,
Ooh.
yeah, he put in some work there, and it's solid. Even into his credit, Zubac had 32 in that game, so that was
Okay.
another, that was, like I said, you're getting guys who's stepping up. It's not like it's like stepping up by committee. And one day, you'll have one guy step up, then one the next, and then. But this bench has been very solid as of late. And then Philly started off. Not started, but we went to Philly, won that game. That was another kind of a tough, gritty. I think we were down by 24 points in the second half. We was able to
Wow.
take care of business in that situation. Reggie stepped up, 19 points. Batum with 15, and this really just by committee. Like just guys are just one day somebody stepping up to the call. So and then yesterday another tough loss to the Knicks, and they're another, like you said earlier about a defensive gritty team. They were coming off a 3-game losing streak, so they've been doing their thing. RJ Barrett, he did his thing yesterday, and another game where we were out rebound once again on the
Mhm.
boards. It's just that's like if there's a midseason wish list, we need a rebounder if
I can do
possible.
that.
But yeah, just another, and then also Reggie Jackson had 26 in that game. Zubac was 17, and then was it Brandon Boston Jr. came off the bench. He had 13. So it's just
Okay.
solid. Just it's like seesaw. Even though we 23 and
Right.
25, it's like one game we good, the next, and it's just like seesaw. Just trying to just maintain it, and luckily with the ninth seed, we will play the Lakers.
Right.
If the season today, it would be a compelling 8-9 matchup.
That is a compelling one. You guys look like pretty much a true 500 team, and I think that is
Mhm.
something. We're not super big on the moral victories right there, but considering
Yeah,
how got injured you guys are, like that's
yeah,
definitely, no, like a lot of work put in to still maintain that, like you said, like next guy up type of mentality.
yeah.
Now coming up this week, you guys have the Wizards tomorrow, who are probably a same caliber team as you guys, I would say. They actually have Bradley Bill. They still have one of their stars, though. So,
Yeah,
but just as far as caliber of team, like I think you guys are probably on the same level right at this exact moment.
yeah,
So a winnable game for you guys. It is going to be in Washington, though. Then you guys follow up Wednesday and play the Magic. Tough one on Friday. You got to play Miami, and then you
yeah,
have the Charlotte Hornets on Sunday. Ooh, Pacers on Monday.
yeah, yeah. Right, right. And it's funny. It's weird because it's going to the Washington game next tomorrow. It's kind of deja vu with the Knicks because the Wizards are on I think they're on a 3-game losing streak, and
Okay.
this is the end of their 8-game homestand. So they've been at home and they've struggled at home. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like they probably want to get this win before they
Right.
head out for their going on the road. So interesting game, like Bradley Beal, also seeing Trez again. So that's going to be
Right.
definitely interesting. Like the West team, they're another team where they start off great in the beginning, but then it kind of just fizzled out.
Right.
And Orlando and then Miami, they're it's weird because Orlando, even though they're statistically the worst team in the league, but they still got pieces. They're tough
Right.
out,
Yeah.
like especially as far as worst record in the Eastern Conference. They're still a good team. And obviously the record doesn't show it, but they're still solid. Cole Anthony, he's doing his thing. He's leading them, and Wagner, pretty much a potential rookie of the year potentially.
Right. Yeah.
And then we had a Mo Bamba sighting the other night. When he had like 32 points
Yeah. We
against
did.
Philly.
Yeah, we
So
did.
right. So that Magic team, you just don't know what you can get. And that's kind of one of it's a trap game out of all of it. One that you think in theory that you're gonna win.
Hmm.
Then obviously you got a surge in Miami Heat who now got everybody back together. They're number one in
Right.
the East. So that's gonna definitely pose as a threat as well. And then also Charlotte. Charlotte's gonna be a tough out as well. They're another team that's similar to us in the sense, as far as kind of up and down, up and down. So
right,
it's he's got a this East Coast trip. This first leg is a little rough.
For sure. And, Miami is another one of those really physical teams. They're real gritty and will get in your face about getting the ball and taking possession. Turnovers is going to be something that you guys are going to have to be on top of. And like you were talking about with the rebounds, that's something that's going to, one of those games where that's going to make a difference too. So, and even though Miami's on top, because I'm not knocking them, I do from the very beginning, because when they climbed up into the top 5, I was like, man, this Miami team is tough, right? Yeah. But, I really think that you guys could possibly pull out a win, but it's just one of those where you're going to have to get in there and grind all the way. Like, you're going to have more than just Reggie having one of those big games like that. Yeah. Like you're going to need a couple more pieces that step up and have at least 20 plus.
Exactly. And have some more production off the bench. Maybe looking at maybe a guy like a Luke Kennard, get some shooting on there. Brandon Boston Jr. some more is there. Eric Bledsoe get a few. I think if we can get maybe potentially about 40, 45 to 50 points off that bench, that could definitely help.
And I think that they are they are number 1, Miami but they're so tight in the East over there because Brooklyn is a half a game behind. Bulls are a game behind. Bucks are a game behind. Cavs are 2 games behind. So like that race over there is so tight compared to what's going on over in the West, where we have the Phoenix Suns who are at the top. And then you have Golden State, but they're 3 games behind. And then Memphis is in the 3 seed, and they're 3 more games behind. So there's some big gaps over here in the West. It's kind of strange. All right, Chris. Well, good luck on your games this week. Let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
I once again appreciate it. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Couch Coach Live, podcast anyway. Get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, iHeart. We're there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. We'll see you the next time you're on.
All right.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Cool McCain covering the Bucks and the Nuggets this week.
Yeah.
Hey, Cool. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Okay, who do you want to start with, Bucks or Nuggets?
Let's start off with the Nuggets. Nuggets had an interesting week. So first, obviously, the trade. So we got Brian Forbes. I'm also going to say we got DeMarcus Cousins kind of like part of that, even though he really isn't. It makes me feel a little bit better. We gave up Bobo, PJ Dozier, 2 guys who are injured. One with a foot injury, one with a ACL injury. We sent them to Boston. Boston then sent Juancho Hernan-Gomez and Tax to you all at San Antonio.
Right.
I think for production this year, you're actually going to see the most out of what you received. I think with Brian Forbes, the issue is the same issue that he had with you guys, the same issue that he had with Milwaukee. He can shoot, but he's a liability on defense.
Yeah.
So the issue with that is we're already not a very good defensive team in Denver just because of injuries and other things. So we're bringing in a guy who can help with the shooting, but is not going to do anything really to help defense. So curious about the rotations. Maybe adding him in, we can change the rotations a little bit to get him in with guys that are more defensive minded to help out there. But it's a curious trade to me because you're giving up 2 solid pieces. Yeah, they are injured, but you're really only receiving back a guy who can help you on the 3 at times. But like I said, is not going to do anything to improve perimeter defense. Adding DeMarcus Cousins helps me a little bit feel better about it because he's a guy that's going to be able to come in, and he showed that in the game he's played so far. We're not asking him to do a lot. You come in, you play bully ball for 15, 20 minutes. You rebound. You impose your will. You be a tough guy. That's what they need. And that's what he's going to provide. So that's really something that's going to be helpful, I think, for Denver in the long run. But I really think this season, the winner of the trade is going to be you guys.
And I do like Hernan-Gomez. I think that we will be able to see some of that action there, some of that. He's a presence within the lane, and we need a more dominant big man. Now, do I think he's the answer to our problems? No, but I think he will be able to be a nice combo there with Jakob Poeltl. So I did kind of like the trade. I like Bryn Forbes, he's always been on, he's a great 3-point shooter, and you can fit that in somewhere. But like you said, it may not be necessarily exactly what you guys were looking for. But I think this helps with the fact that that he can come in those close games and he can possibly be that one to hit the 3-point shot. He's an excellent 3-point shooter. So if it comes down to that and you guys are in a close game, he might be that one to help, set you over the edge and get a win.
Yeah, he could be, but I'd want him to get subbed out quickly if the other team has an opportunity on defense. I mean, like I said, I watched him last year with Milwaukee, and boy, he's just not a lot he's going to bring defensively. But yeah, he will help, like I said, with the offense, and that's important. Denver, obviously, pretty good week. Beat the Clippers overtime. Right. Clippers played actually really well. And I have to say, you have to give them props because they're down their best 2 players, and they're coming out every night. And like Couch Coach said in the previous segment, they're just doing next man up. They're playing as hard as they can, and they're in games. They have an opportunity. If you have that, you can win. If you don't have that, there's no way to win. So, I think they're going to be dangerous once they get those 2 guys back and they learn how to, do what they're doing now. So many other people are able to ascend down. Then you add 2 more dominant pieces that can take the shots when they need to. As long as the other guys don't say, okay, they're back, so we don't have to play hard anymore, I think you're going to be looking at a Clipper team that's going to surprise some people once we get around to the playoffs. Then obviously, the Grizzlies didn't turn out so well. We made a good, strong comeback. We were down 14-20, honestly, most of that game. Made a good, strong comeback at the end, but not enough to win. But Memphis is a good, young, athletic team. A lot of lone guys. That's somewhere that gives us trouble because we are missing some size. Without MPJ out there, it's difficult. The rotations are different. This is a game where Bobo could have possibly made a difference just because of the length and size. That's what happened with Memphis, and I anticipate that any series with Memphis, unless we can get some more pieces back, that's going to be difficult. And obviously, we were able to overcome the Pistons, which thankfully, they hit us at the right time of the schedule because we definitely need some wins. We're seeing Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic really take control of this team. That's definitely needed. And we're seeing other guys kind of rotate in. Some of them are having good nights at different times. They're not all the same night, but it's helping filling that gap that we're missing because we have to have Aaron Gordon step up and do more than he normally would be anticipated to do just because of the pieces that we're missing. We've had Jokic flirt with a triple-double and actually gain 1 in 3 of the last 4 games. It's crazy. He's had 25 points, 49 points, 45 points. It's just been amazing to see what he's done all across the board. A lot of talk about the best big man in the game. So I'm going to say, for me, it's Nikola Jokic because of the passing ability. And guys like Joel Embiid, it doesn't mean that they're bad, but he doesn't have that knack for passing. Scoring, he's probably going to score on a regular basis more than Jokic. Rebounding, they're going to put up similar numbers. Blocks, you probably give the edge to Embiid slightly. But when it comes to passing and just the importance to your offense as a 7-2 player, there's no one in the league that does what Jokic does for his team right now. And you can't deny that. I mean, if he's not the MVP again, it's fine. But you can't deny that. He's definitely the one on the court that is directing traffic. Like, you see him coaching out on the court the entire time. Like, he's setting up the play, telling them which direction to go. Like, you don't necessarily get that from your big guy, like you said. So, extremely valuable. So, tomorrow you guys double back. You play the Pistons in Detroit. Then you play the Nets on Wednesday. Play the Pelicans on Friday. And then they play your other team, the Bucks, on Sunday. So, it looks like a pretty easy 500 week as far as that goes. Do you think you can come out on top and get, go 3-1? And what has to happen for that to? So they're going to need to go 3-1. The game to focus on is the Nets because the Nets don't have Kevin Durant. Okay. So that's the game that we're going to have to find a way to win. I think we should beat Detroit. We should beat the Pelicans. That doesn't mean we will, but we should. So I think the game to focus on is the Nets. Without KD, we're going to have to use the size advantage that we have for once, not many times. We're going to have to pump the ball down low. We're going to have to work. Guys are going to have to show up. We're going to have to get 5 to 10 points for some of the guys on the bench that may not show up as much. We may need some threes from Forbes. Obviously, Cousins, we're going to need him to hop in, do what he does. That's going to give us a chance to actually rest Jokic during the game for a good 15, 20 minutes and feel comfortable. Because what's been happening is a lot of times we rest Jokic, and that's when the team makes the comeback. right? We can be up 15 points. Jokic sits out. We're down 5 by the time he comes back in or down 10. So having a guy that can come in, he doesn't do the same things, but he can anchor that second unit. He's going to obviously be more of a low post presence, but he's going to bring a little bit more nasty. That's going to be very important, especially against Brooklyn without KD, because that's going to limit their size. It is in Brooklyn, so you won't have Kyrie either. So you'll only have James Harden.
Okay. Oh, so that probably is
so that's beneficial.
Right.
So, that's a game we need to try to find a way to win. I don't think it's going to be easy, but we need to try to find a way to win that game. The game against Milwaukee, that's going to be tough. I know Giannis didn't play last night, so, don't know. But if he's playing, that's going to make it very difficult because we don't have anybody on Denver that can guard Giannis. There just isn't anybody. DeMarcus maybe a little bit, can push him out. Jokic maybe can force him to take a more difficult shot, but there's not really anybody on that team that can guard.
I do kind of like the matchup with Boogie, but and just because of that size difference right there, but and like you said, push Giannis out there to shoot threes when he's obviously better within the lane, but you're just not going to get the point production out of Boogie. Like his safe zone is 15 to 16 minutes, and you can't ask more of him because his body can't take it.
Right, and that's the thing. He'll be good for that 15 to 20 minutes, but, that's not going to be what's going to win that game. So,
right, yeah, definitely. But it might be because he might be, like you said, be that one to give Joker the rest that he needs to come back in and do what he does so well. Well, let's slide over to Milwaukee since we were talking about them anyway. How's that week been?
So Milwaukee, of course, Monday after the show lost to the Hawks. Okay. That was a losable game, so it's not a big surprise. Trey did what Trey Young does, and he was pretty much fourth quarter Trey.
Right.
When he does that, it's hard to win unless you amassed enough of a lead to overcome that, and we hadn't. So that's what happened with that game. Basically, we played the Grizzlies on Wednesday. They could not handle Giannis. Bobby Portis had a big game that game. Drew Holiday was there and Chris Middleton. So when all those guys are there and playing well, it's hard to beat the Bucks. Then we played the Bulls on Friday. I'm going to circle back to that game. Good game for most of our big players in that game as well. And then the Kings we won on Saturday. So these were all games that pretty much for the most part we should have won. Grizzlies I see is like a 50-50. Bulls obviously close game 90-94. Right. 3 of those 4 games Giannis played, he played well. Without Giannis against the Kings, other guys were able to step up because they don't have that dominant low post scoring threat in Kings or that low post really dominant defensive threat there either. So they were able to kind of do a little bit of the things they want to do. I want to circle back to the Bulls game. A lot of people have opinions on Grayson Allen and the foul. I think it was a scumbag foul. I think that's the kind of player he is. He's been that way since Duke. The original block, I'm fine with, but then you have the nerve to come across and basically cock and make the guy fall and hurt himself. And that's just scumbag plays. That's just things that you really don't need in the NBA. Not calling for him to be, long-term suspended or anything, but he really needs to change the way that he's going about his mentality. A lot of those dirty plays, they're not needed. They're scumbag. They're not needed in the NBA, and there's no place for them. We have people that want to sit and complain about, for instance, Jokic and the bump and what happened with the Morris twin. I mean, it's retaliation for what the Morris twin did. Alex Caruso did nothing to Grayson Allen, but try to make a shot. Like I said, the initial block I think was a good solid play, but the scumbag part was that cock back and reach around with the other arm. There's no place for that in the NBA, and he needs to be suspended. He does need to be suspended for multiple games because you don't want people feeling like that's okay. To make that play. So very disappointed in him for continuing to be that kind of player. I understand why Milwaukee signed him, but this is a guy you may want to look at and say, do I really want him there long term if this is what he's going to continue to do?
And like you said, it's been the entirety of his career. We saw it, at Duke. And I'm glad that you took, you're saying that your team needs to be responsible for that because I agree. I think it's not necessarily always it's not always exactly what happened, but if you have a history of this happening all the time, then I think that sometimes should go in towards, what their punishment should be. Like, I think if you have a history of this, and this has been something that you've done before, that maybe it shouldn't, what happens to you should increase each time. Maybe if you have a history of this is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, you should set the precedent that we're not going to allow you to come out here and constantly make these kind of dirty plays.
Right.
If you have one that happens every once in a while, nobody's perfect, but you have a history, even in the NBA, of questionable plays, even when you were with Memphis. So you're a guy that makes dirty plays on a regular basis. There have been other plays this year that didn't cause an injury that were dirty plays that he's made as well. There's been a lot of poor plays that he's made as well, as far as the decision making between the shot and the pass, the rebound, different things like that. But the main thing is this guy needs to stop making these bush league poor plays, or you need to be out of the NBA and people need to stop giving him an opportunity. And I don't take that lightly because he is a beneficial player, but it's more than just being a beneficial player. You have to have the safety of your fellow players in mind. You have to have the mentality of not going out here and intentionally trying to hurt people or do things that could hurt people. And in my opinion, for another time, that's something he's done. And, it needs to be handled by Milwaukee. If the league doesn't do much, then Milwaukee needs to step in and do something in regards to this.
Absolutely agree. It kind of reminds me of Blake Griffin in LA when he was with the Clippers. And, he had that altercation with his trainer / friend. And I just felt like the league was really soft. And I was like, okay, well, if the league isn't going to, pass out a punishment that was deserving, because he was suspended for 4 games. But he missed like a month and a half because he broke his hand on the man's face. So, he was out for a while, but it wasn't really because of his actions. It was just because of what happened after that. And I felt like the Clippers should have stepped in, if, Silver, or it was Sterling at the time, didn't hand out the right punishment, maybe we should step in and do something a little bit stronger. Me personally, my comment about it was you need to be in anger management. Like, you need to figure out in the offseason anger management before you can come back to the team.
They legally gave him, by the way, a 1-game suspension.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah. So he's already missed the game for that.
Right.
Very disappointing.
Let's go ahead and talk about the games that are coming up this week. You guys have the Cavaliers on Wednesday. You have the Knicks on Friday. Then you have the Nuggets on Sunday to finish out your week. So obviously that Nuggets game is going to be pretty interesting. But those other 2 games, those are both games that are going to need to be wins because they're in the East. The Cavs are hot right now, and they're right around you guys in standings. And the Knicks they're not as hot as we thought they were going to be, but they're still a pretty physical team.
Yeah, Milwaukee's got to go 3-0 this week. This is a perfect opportunity to take the fact that the Nets are, headed down. Chicago, it's going to be a little tougher for them, unfortunately, without Caruso, because he was one of their primary, wing defenders. And then with the Cavaliers, a lot of young guys, they're playing well. You got to dominate them. You got to go in there and force your will and remind them that, real talk, we're the champs. It's time to kind of step it up. They've been, I feel, kind of on cruise control for a long part of the season. They'll step up and have good games. They'll play some games where you're like, why did you lose that game? So I think it's time to start, tightening things down, getting ready for the All-Star break and, that run to try to get a high seeding again. So I think it's time to really buckle down, focus in. If someone's not playing, then other guys have got to step up. You've got enough weapons. You've got pretty much most of what you need. You could use another big man, but that is what it is. It is what it is right now. So you go in, you use the weapons that you have, and you got to play. You got to buckle down, and you got to grind out wins. So start this week. It should be 3-0.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cole. Let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you, and we will see you back next week.
Absolutely. As you see right down there, Real Play Callers on Twitter. Make sure you follow us there. As well as on Instagram, Play Callers Sports Talk Show. And, of course, you can follow me on Instagram at cool_McCain or on Twitter at coolMcCain.
Thank you so much, Cool. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Jay Nelson covering the Houston Rockets. Hey, Jay.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Doing good.
All right, let's talk Rockets. You guys came out with a win on Sunday against Sacramento. Last Sunday, excuse me. And then Wednesday, you guys played the Jazz, came out victorious on that one as well, 116-111. And then you guys played the Warriors in a really close game, probably better
Really
than
close.
better than anybody anticipated, 105 to 103. So let's start with the Jazz game, and then we'll talk about the Warriors.
The Jazz game, I think I came on here and I talked about it. I felt like that was a game that we could steal. I did mention this on the sip-off that I believe that game actually said more about the Jazz than about the Rockets, because the Jazz had actually dropped the last 7, 8, or 9 against bottom 500 teams. So it's some holes, and if we had a Jazz rep, they could probably clarify it up a little bit more. But no. But still, it can't be overlooked that a bottom team got with a top-seeded team. Well, not top-seeded, but they're in the top 4 and everything. But I feel like that was a game that we could steal, and we did. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's just finishing games, when we get those tough games, it's a testament to us how much and how far and how long we can hang with them. Because basketball is 4 quarters, it's not 3.
Right.
So you gotta finish the job. You definitely gotta get it done. But we got it done out there. The Sacramento game we did. We almost had 3 in a row if it wasn't for some guy named Steph Curry.
Right, absolutely. So in this game that I'm looking at with the Jazz, you guys, they were short Donovan Mitchell, and that might be, just part of that reason as far as point production for them, that it was a little bit lower. But they still need to be with what they have. They have Gobert, they have O'Neal, they have Conley, Ingles was in there, Clarkson was in there. Like, they absolutely don't have a whole lot of excuses of not being able to finish out that game and come out on top.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, you had no Spider, but if you can't finish off the hapless Rockets, I'm not saying that's one game that's going to define you, but people are going to start giving you a side eye just a little bit,
Absolutely.
Hey, I don't know. I mean, and you know what? It could be, and we can sit here and we can say, that's just one bad game. That's just the thing. They've had 7 or 8 of them against bottom 500 teams. So at what point in time do you say, what's going on here? The great teams beat everybody, okay, if not most of them. But these are the teams that you should beat. But now, props to my Rockets for hanging in there on the road, no less.
Right.
And Christian Wood had a buzzer beater at the end of the third quarter.
Very cool. Very cool.
Go
ahead.
No. Go ahead. I was done with that one.
Okay. And then so sliding over to the Warriors game, let's talk about that. It was 105-103. Now, Golden State came out on top, but in that fourth quarter, you guys scored almost as much as them. If y'all, obviously would have got another bucket or two, y'all would have won. But you guys scored 27 points in the fourth quarter, and they scored 29.
Right. And also consider the fact that Curry was only 4 of 13 from 3-point range, including the game winner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we actually, by Curry standards, we slowed him down. He just happened to hit the shot at the time like Curry does.
Right, yeah.
But no, Christian Wood had 19 and 15. Eric Gordon had 10 and 3 assists. KPJ had 17 and 8 assists. Kmart Jr. had 14 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists off the bench. So more and more I'm seeing this bench come alive, and that's what's going to win us a lot of games in the future, I feel. But I mean, shoot, aside from Curry, he had some help. Wiggy had 17 and 4. Poole had 20. I've always kind of been a fan of Poole, I think he's more than solid out there, So it was a great game. It was reminiscent of when we met up with him in the playoffs years before we had Harden and all that, I know some people will say, well, the Warriors, did they play down to the Rockets? They probably did. But they got the win. Props to them. Props to Steve Shawanda. I know this is squad and everything. He's probably going to come on here and talk about it, But, I mean, we'll see him in Houston, and maybe it'll be a different story.
Right. Well, you bring that up. You guys play them again this upcoming Monday. But tomorrow you guys play the Spurs. We talked about this a couple weeks ago about that Texas matchup. And then you play the Trailblazers, who have been revitalized a little bit. They have Anthony Simmons, who is really kind of filling in where they are missing Dame as far as a point guard and shooting like that. But then they also had CJ McCollum, who came back like 4 games ago. So, and they're 3-1 with him back. So Portland is definitely not one of those games that you want to sit there and say, oh, that's a completely winnable game because they don't have their stars. They had one of them come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always been a McCollum fan too. As a matter of fact, I've said that the most dangerous backcourt in basketball, aside from Steph and Clay, was Dame and McCollum.
Right? Yeah. Agreed.
And McCollum, I believe, has proven on more than several occasions, in the absence of Dame, that he can take over. Now, the golden question is should he not stay in Portland? Can he go elsewhere and be the man? That remains to be seen if it ever happens. But McCollum is a more than solid number 2, and I still think it's going to be a tough game. Also, I'm going by history too. Like, the Blazers always find a way to give us fits. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know. They always find a way to give us fits. Even back when they had Brandon Roy. Brandon Roy was killing the Rockets back then.
Right.
So yeah, we'll just see. I think it's actually still a winnable game, considering the type of game that we just gave Golden State. Mm-hmm. And I know Golden State, Portland, 2 different teams, but Stephen Silas got to get his guys together. Like, look, we got to finish these ball games out. We got something to prove. This isn't D'Antoni's Rockets anymore. We're starting over. So we got something to prove, but Houston's definitely got the youngsters to get it done and everything. And I think that game is winnable. The one versus the Spurs, unpredictable, because you know how that rivalry is.
You never know which way it's going to go. It doesn't matter how good either one of the other teams are doing, or how bad one of them are doing. They might be able to pull it out. You just never know with that Texas rivalry like that. It's similar to the New York teams or the LA teams playing each other. You just don't know which way it's going to go.
You don't.
I say it goes our way because y'all got it last time.
Hey, you know what? If y'all tell you come on here and get on my head on the next episode.
Okay. All right, Jay. Thank you so much. Let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
All right. NBA Carousel, Monday Nights with Megan Price, produced by JB Ellis, the Godfather. Shout out to him. And Eric Wilson, John Shearer, and Jennifer Matthews Lewis. Also, Thursday night, the Sip Off. I might peek my face in this Thursday and get up and climb with y'all. That's hosted by Megan Price, Jahan Phillips, and Anthony Brown. Also, the Gauntlet Podcast, Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hosted by myself, James Tatum, Dom DeRubis, and I said his name right, DeRubis, and Tyler Ingham. So, Dom, if you're watching, I said your name right again, all right? Shout out Craig Davis, Marshall Hill, Unconventional Kings fan. One love, 4 Horsemen forever. Let's go.
All right, good night, Jay. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Jordan Long covering the Phoenix Suns.
Hey, Megan.
How are you, Jordan?
I'm good. Just recovering from a great, weekend of football. But with the Suns, it's all been wins.
For sure. I was talking about this earlier. Now, you guys are in the number 1 seed, but you're not just in the number 1 seed. You're ahead by 3 games on Golden State. Talk to me about that. Let's start with that seeding right there, too, because Memphis is also behind Golden State. They're in the number 3 seed, and they're 3 games behind. So a bit of a gap right there with the top 3 seeds over here in the West.
Well, it is. But the thing about the one team I am worried about, not Memphis. They had Ja Morant, and that's it. But you look at Golden State with Steph Curry. They're getting healthy with Klay Thompson. That is going to be I think we play 1 or 2 more games with them, so that will decide who will be the number 1 seed. But there are no bad teams in the top 3. Memphis has Ja Morant, like I said. You have Golden State with Steph Curry. We have us. It's just going to be a battle on who's going to get the home court. It doesn't matter if you're really the 2 or 3 seed. We've seen that any of these teams can beat anybody on their home court. But I think for us, it is big for us to get the home court just because we played so well at home.
Absolutely. So this week, you guys started your week off, played the Spurs. You came out on top on that one, 121-107. And then you moved over to Dallas and played them on Thursday and were victorious, 109-101. And then on Saturday, you played the Pacers, and you also won that game 113-103. So don't want to say necessarily an easy week, but you guys handled it 3-0. What game really stuck out to you out of those 3?
To be honest, it was the Dallas game. We went into the fourth quarter actually down 82-74. We didn't have DeAndre Ayton for any of these games, but we were down 82-74. Actually outscored Dallas in that quarter 35-19 to win the game 109-101. And Booker, he's been amazing. I know he had 48 points against the Spurs, but he kept it going in Dallas with 28. Chris Paul did his thing, double-double, 20 points and 11 assists. Crowder, 13 points. Bridges, 12 points. And McGee actually stepped up in DeAndre Ayton's absence and had 8 points, but you still can't stop Luka Doncic. He had 28 points. And Porzingis definitely carved us in the paint there with 18 points and 11 rebounds. But honestly, what actually helped us win was our bench points. We had 28 to their 12. But I will say we didn't control the boards very well. So that's why that Dallas had that lead. They out-rebounded us 50-40. But the turnovers was the story in this game. Only 7 for us, which was pretty nice. And we caused 19. And off of that, we had fast break points of 20-6. So if you look at that, really it was the turnovers and the fast break points that was the difference in that game.
Absolutely. And seeing some good bench production as well. You had Campaign with 12 points, Biombo with 9 points, and Johnson with 7. So some real decent bench production right there. And I want to say, I think the Mavericks were on a 9-1 streak before that game.
They were one of the hottest teams in the NBA going into that game for sure.
All right, let's talk about what you guys have going on this week. You have the Jazz tonight, and then you have the Jazz on Wednesday as well. You're at home tonight, and then you will be in Salt Lake City on Wednesday. Friday, you have the Timberwolves, and then Sunday, you have the Spurs again, but you have them at home.
Right, and I still look at the Jazz games as the toughest. We're going on a 6-game winning streak going into tonight, but I saw that Donovan Mitchell is questionable for this game, but, we've talked about it. They are a tough team, even without him. They have Mike Conley, Bogdanovich, and Rudy. Of course, Rudy Gobert down low. So without DeAndre Ayton and McGee in there, it's going to be an interesting matchup between him, Rudy Gobert, and JaVale McGee. And, of course, they got Joe Ingles who can shoot and, assist. Friday, I mean, Minnesota is pretty surprising. I think they're the 7th seed right now, but they have D'Angelo Russell and Karl-Anthony Towns. It's a very young team learning to score or learning to win, so that could be a trap game. And, of course, you have the Spurs who we just played, so we have tape on them. But the Spurs, I mean, you still have Greg Popovich, so he's going to probably look at what happened in the game on Monday, make adjustments. So that'll be a key in that game.
Definitely agree. I think, having to focus on DeJounte Murray and Derek White is going to, if you can slow down that shooting combo right there, and make Lonnie Walker be the one that has to be the one to put the points up. And he can do it, but he's not always necessarily the one that puts up the most like that. So if you can get DeJounte and contain that, you're not going to contain his assists, his rebounds, or his blocks. Or his steals, because, he leads the league in steals. But if you can control his shooting, that would definitely make a difference there.
Well, true. And then you guys have to stop Devin Booker and Chris Paul. Right. But again, Popovich is one of the best coaches who will look at tape and figure out adjustments. So if he can get a defense going, that's going to be tough on us. And right. I hopefully will have DeAndre Ayton down low for us, and that's another key. But I just know that Greg Popovich is going to have a better game plan than he had on Monday night to try to slow down. I mean, there's no slowing down Chris Paul or Devin Booker, but you're going to have to slow them somehow, and I know Popovich will adjust.
Absolutely. I think, and, you guys, even without Ayton, you have McGee, and that's just an area for us. We just don't have we don't have very aggressive center position. So, that's an area where JaVale McGee being as physical as he is, that, you will probably win that matchup right there for sure.
For sure. I mean, McGee, I'm glad we got him. I mean, of course, I represent the Denver Nuggets on the show, too, and I was sad for the Nuggets to get rid of him, but he didn't do much for the Nuggets, and you're seeing JaVale McGee being a starter, being a key contributor off the bench, and I think that's what we were missing in the finals against Milwaukee. It's just a physical presence. Ayton has a little bit of that, but McGee is definitely more of a physical player down low, and I think if we go back into deep in the playoffs, that's going to be a key for sure with McGee down low.
And so we're coming up on the trade deadline. We have, the All-Star weekend is going to be the 17th and the 18th. And then, we have the trade deadline right before that, the week before that. So the 10th. If there was anything to happen for you guys, which, I mean, you guys seem like pretty much a complete team. So the trade deadline might just come and go and pass you guys by. You may not need anything. But if there was anything on your wish list, what would it be?
I would say definitely a better perimeter defender, because there's been games where we have not covered the 3-point line very well. We've let teams go off. But then again, we still have so much talent, especially on our bench, that, like you said, I don't know if we're going to do it and make any moves. We're pretty much a complete team. There might be one minor move just to get maybe a guy that's behind Chris Paul or Devin Booker, but that's probably it, especially a perimeter defender who's, going to get some, maybe 4 or 5 or 10 to 15 minutes per game just to defend the 3-point line. But other than that, I don't see us doing much.
All right, Jordan. Well, thank you very much. Good luck on your games, and let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
You can find me here on the NBA Carousel every Mondays, doing the Denver Nuggets or mostly the Phoenix Suns. Follow me at Sports Scoop 1 and read my blog that I write Mondays through Fridays at sports-scoop.com.
Thanks, Jordan. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our last rep. We have Steve Shawanda covering Golden State. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Megan. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Great. Just a beautiful day in paradise.
It must be cold there.
Well, it's January in Michigan, so yeah.
Right, yeah, definitely. All right, so you guys, as I was just talking about with Jordan, you guys are in the number 2 seed. You're 3 games behind Phoenix. Any thoughts on that? And then Memphis being 3 games behind you. So kind of what's your analysis on that?
Yeah, I mean that the biggest thing is after that, there's I think we're 7 games up of the 4 seed. So, either way, things are going, unless there's a complete and utter breakdown, the Warriors are at least going to have home court in the first round. You'd love to stay in the top 2, have home court in the second round too, and on route. But really, truth be told, I mean the Warriors are struggling right now. I mean they're 34-13, but they're 5-5 in their last 10, and they have won 2 in a row. Though they were both by 2 points. We needed a Steph Curry buzzer beater to beat Houston, which Jay was talking about earlier. And then another just terrible shooting performance for him against the Jazz last night, but they still were 94-92. So that's the good part. Without Clay, without Draymond, without Iguodala, obviously Wiseman's still not there. And, you get 1 for 13 shooting from Steph from 3. 5 for 12 overall, or 5 for 20 overall. He scores 13 points, but you're still able to beat the Jazz by 2 because Poole had 20, Wiggins had 14, Porter Jr. had 13, Looney had 10, Damian Lee had 12. So you have that balanced scoring, because that really is, as great as Steph is, that really is what this team's strength is, and that's the word that I just used, team. They are very deep. They're very well-rounded. They move well without the ball. They pass. They are always near the top, obviously, with most assists per goal, field goal. They play good defense, so though a little bit troubling. The Steph shooting slump right now is not troubling at all for me. He's going to be fine. He's just going to shoot his way out of it, and he's going to be fine. He can shoot 30 times a game. I don't care if he goes 1 for 30, keep shooting. Reggie Miller told that story when Larry Bird was coaching him, when he missed his first 6 shots and he stopped shooting, and Larry Bird called him over. He said, "Why did you stop shooting?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm 0 for 6, coach. I don't have it tonight." And he goes, anybody can be 0 for 6. Only the great shooters can be 0 for 25. Keep shooting. And then
right.
The next one's always in. But Klay Thompson did not practice today. He's questionable for tomorrow. He probably won't play. Iguodala won't play. Draymond's still at least a week or 10 days away. The Wiseman thing, obviously they're being very, very cautious with him, and good reason, because obviously he's still young, and at least in their long-term plans, as of right now, he's still a part of them. Though maybe by February 10th, maybe something will happen. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But because every time that they're starting, that Wiseman's going to start contact drills, something happens. He has fluid in his knee, or a little this, a little that, whatever. So that's a little concerning. But that's the biggest thing is just, I for me personally, I don't want them to make a trade. I just want to have their team actually back healthy. Because when you get Iguodala and Draymond and Wiseman play all 100% to go with Steph and Wiggins and Looney and Poole, and it's just a nice nice team to have. But kind of a interesting week for them because they have the Mavs tomorrow and which historically they haven't, for whatever reason, they just haven't played very well against Dallas in the last couple of years. Steph only had 14 points against them the first game that they played him this year. So that's a little troubling. And then Thursday, they get the Bulls, who are really the best team that nobody talks about. They're not great, but they're a lot better than people give them credit for.
Agreed.
Saturday, they got the Nets, which again, without Durant, and it's a home game. So that would mean, because California, that would mean Kyrie can't play either.
Right.
In that area. So that's got to be a win. All three of those games are on national TV, Tuesday and Thursday on TNT, and then Saturday on ABC. And then they got the, which I briefly talked about with Jay too, on Monday, Tuesday, they have the Texas road trip where they play Houston and San Antonio back to back. So, it's a big week for them. But yeah, Steph's still 8th in the league and scoring at 26 a game. But the last 10, he's dipped down to about 22 a game his last 10. So it is troubling. But yeah, that part I'm not worried about. I'm more worried about anytime I see Klay Thompson and sore knee. They're going to be slow with him. So I'm shocked if he plays tomorrow. Iguodala already not playing. Hopefully they get Draymond back in a week or 10 days or so, because he's crucial for both offensive and defensively for that. But truthfully, as long as they're a top 3 seed, I'm not going to be too worried about it. Not a lot of people going into the year expected them to be this good anyway. I said it that I would be a top 4 seed if Klay came back and everybody was healthy. And unless there's a complete utter breakdown, that will be true. But really, and kind of mentioned it with with some of the other people too, is this time of year, like you said, before the All-Star break, and the trade deadline's coming up, and end of January, early February, and some teams, some good teams, this is that time where they kind of go through the motions a little bit. So you will see that loss that you look at. I almost made myself feel old. Like when you look at the paper the next morning, nobody has a paper. When you look at the phone,
I do remember doing that, but yes.
Yeah, you look at your phone the next morning and check the scores apps. You're like, oh wow, they lost to who? Right. So you're going to have those, and then you're going to have. Like the Pistons. They all of a sudden they come and play really well against the really good teams, and then they go back to being themselves. So this is that time of year where you will have a couple of those games. So this is a really big week. These 5 games for them, they really do need to go 4-1 in these 5, just because they need to get a little rolling a little bit. Steph's got to get back to shooting well. Hopefully he will starting tomorrow against Dallas. They're home. Got 3 home games this week. So, hopefully that will kind of get him right a little bit. He had a nice game winner against Houston. So, hopefully that gives him a little confidence, even though he did shoot poorly in that game. But, not worrying about it yet. Like if next week, if we have like a whole week where he's still like 3 for 20 in every game, then maybe we'll start to be a little bit worried. But I think he'll be all right.
So one thing that really stuck out on me on the stats on this Jazz Warriors game, and you said it earlier when you said that you guys are an excellent defensive team. Who was mainly defending O'Neal?
Well, Kayvon Looney had a huge game.
Because O'Neal only had he had 0 points. Royce O'Neal, Royce O'Neal he had 0 points and like 5 assists, I think.
Yeah, and that's the thing without
5 rebounds.
Even without Draymond and Iguodala, but basically Curry is really long and athletic, the Warriors. So they have a lot of bodies to throw throw at you. And, you know, Kevon Looney hasn't been scoring. He's really just been rebounding and defending. But he actually had 10 points in this game too, and he played really well. Order Porter Jr. played well. They just have, you know, Kuminga. They just have a lot of wings that are like from 6'6" to 6'9" that they can just kind of throw at you. And, you know, and that's the thing. But that's the biggest thing also is good team defense is not, hey, I'm going to stop my guy, you stop your guy. We are playing as 5 people. So you a lot of help side, you're talking, you're switching, you're communicating. They do switch a lot of screens. Because like I said, it's really besides Steph, they can basically switch almost everything. So that gives a lot of flexibility on the defensive side of the ball. Talk early, switch a lot of screens, and you know, because a lot of coaches would say like, "Hey, you can guard anybody for 3 or 4 seconds. You know, it doesn't matter if you get match. You know, you can sit down in the stance and guard anybody for a couple of seconds, and you know, be good help side, help the helper, recover out, close out, all those good things." And you know, like you said, you hold the Jazz. I mean, they obviously the Warriors struggled shooting too. They only scored 94, but when you hold the Jazz to 92 points in today's NBA, you're doing pretty good.
Most definitely. Well, Steve, thank you so much, and good luck on your games this week. And let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Absolutely. Easiest place, obviously, besides right here on the NBA Carousel every Monday, is just on Twitter. All Eyes on You, just the letter U. All Eyes on You Hoops, or SMan1720 is my personal one, but All Eyes on You Hoops is my basketball account, and that's the easiest way to find me. And then we'll be back next week because we're gonna have to talk about that Spurs Warriors game on Tuesday next week.
Definitely.
So we'll have to preview that, Megan.
Awesome. I would love to. All right. We will see you next week, Steve. All right, guys, that wraps it up for us tonight. I just want to remind you that the NBA Carousel is a Sideline Sports Network production, proudly sponsored by Score No Score app, Manscaped, and Sideline Sports provides the sports section of Inscriber magazine. Also, don't forget to catch Sports Arena later on tonight, 10 Eastern. Good night, guys.